לעילוי נשמת the young man Aryeh ben Shmuel. Ruach Adonai Dinechanu Began Eden. We should have only Besorot Tovot. Amen. Before I start the shiur, it is very important, the same way that we mentioned the concept of chizuk in tefillah, and to pray and to ask from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have also to mention our akarat tov to Borei Olam. Even though yesterday we have in Eretz Israel a lot of loss of soldiers, but at the same time we had a huge miracle that we cannot even imagine. Right in the morning in Eretz Israel, there was a drone that fell into one of the buildings in the middle of the city. And Baruch Hashem, there was absolutely no casualties because people left their job. If that drone was falling a couple of hours before, the tragedy that was happening, couldn't even imagine. If you remember the days that unfortunately there were Arabs exploding themselves in the buses, right? How many amount of people got injured? How many people they lost their life? How much kilograms do you think those Arabs they had of explosion on top of them? How much? I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 kilograms. How much kilograms of explosion there is in one drone? How much? Talking about 40. Can you imagine the amount of damage that one drone can cause? And this drone passed throughout all the way from Yemen all the way to Israel. No alarms were sound, right? Nobody was able to detect it. And all this was a chesed and a miracle of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Borei Olam, save Am Yisrael, Hashgacha Peratit. It's amazing. This type of things are happening just to open up our eyes and to realize that even with a great army that we have and all the advanced things that the army has, still, when Borei Olam wants something, everybody can become blind. So we have to be modeh to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to thank to Borei Olam for all the al misecha shebechol yom imanu, ve'niflotecha v'tovotecha shebechol ait, and to ask from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he should continue doing more and more miracles. We should have only besorot tovot coming, especially from the land of Israel. Amen. This week's parasha, we're going to see Yaakov Avinu getting ready to meet with his brother Esav, that he already got a message from the angels. Yaakov Avinu is getting a message from the angels telling him he's not thinking about you as a brother. The only thing that he wants is to kill you and your family. He wants to revenge that you stole from him the berachot, etc. My dear friends, Yaakov Avinu is getting ready. But at what point Yaakov Avinu decided, now it's the moment to meet with Esav? He was years in the house of Lavan. He had time to get married, not to one wife, to 4. To have children, right? 12 kids. 12 kids, even though Benjamin was not born, but Dinah was born. 12 kids. And now you remember to go back? What happened? So if you see, and that's what Chazal are telling us also in the Gemara says that Yaakov Avinu waited until Yosef was born, because Vayabed Yaakov le'esh ubed Yosef le'ava v'yosef lekash. The reason is because he needed the zechut and the power of Yosef HaTzadik to be able to burn the power of Esav. And the Pasuk considers the power of Esav cash. What's cash? Straw. How come that the Torah considers the power of Esav as straw? Esav was so strong that he alone, he was able to do bar minan, do disasters by Yaakov Avinu. Rivka Imenu was scared that the same day that Esav will get killed, also Yaakov will get killed. So why the Torah compares Esav to straw? Listen to this fantastic chidush. The Emek Davar explains something unbelievable. It says the Emek Davar, the word cash is gematria of 400. No. Kufshin, it's 400. It says the Emek Davar. That's why that's why Esav Rasha came with how many people? 400 people to fight against Yaakov. But what's the point behind that number? What is the number 400 coming to teach us? It says the Emek Davar, 400 is the same gematria of Ayin Ra, bad eye. That is coming to tell us that whenever that Esav represents a bad eye. What is the concept of bad eye? Bad eye means that I feel that if you have something that I wanted to, I'm losing. I am losing. When I'm looking forward to get something and then somebody else took it, he was the cause of my loss. And that mentality of a person that lives that way in the world, that makes him a person who is with bad qualities. That's why Esav, after all the years that Yaakov Avinu was not even there, he cannot forgive. Why he cannot forgive? Because he still thinks that Yaakov is the cause of his missing. Unfortunately, until today, we suffer from this type of mentality. That's the Yetzer Hara. How many times Mahloket there is inside the family, how many times there is problems in business, how many times there is fights between people just because you're sure that he is the cause of your loss. By the way, says the Emek Davar, that's why it says by Avraham Avinu when he bought Ma'arat HaMachpelah, it says Ephron without Vav. Why Ephron without Vav? He says because, why Ephron without Vav? So we all know the Pshat that Rashi brings down is because Ephron switched and he changed. He said at the beginning, I'm going to give it to you for free. Don't worry. And then when Avraham Avinu says, wanted to pay, all of a sudden Ephron brings a crazy price. Okay? Say Chazal, but the word Ephron represents the same exact gematria. Why? Why? Because Ephron represents the same mentality that if I'm not getting what I want and I feel that somebody else is taking it, I feel that it's his cause. And that's why Avraham Avinu, how much did he pay? 400. Says the Emek Davar, the whole point is to understand how careful we gotta be not to have a bad eye. And that's why when Yaakov Avinu comes and he says, now is the moment. Vaya bet Yaakov esh, ubet Yosef le'ava, ubet Esav lekash. Why do we compare Esav to cash, to straw? Because straw is something that doesn't have koach, doesn't have power. Somebody that comes with this type of mentality, it's nothing. It's nobody. I want to tell you, a couple of years back, there was a fellow that unfortunately had the same type of mentality. Same type of mentality. Mentality of everything is around him, everything is him, and whatever he wants and he needs, that's the right thing to do. So this guy, and You can find this also in many different places. But in this story, this guy went to the shul. He goes to the shul, and he wanted very much a certain aliyah. Certain aliyah. Rabotai, he goes, they're auctioning the aliyah, and the guy comes and he says a number. There's somebody else in the kahal. He's not able to see because it's in the corner. Somebody else in the kahal says a number that is higher. Doesn't give up. And he says, no, my number. Goes back and forth. Now I forgot to tell you that this guy went to the Gabbai and he told him, please, help me out. I really need these aliyah for Ilui Nishmat of I don't know who. Okay, please give it to me. And the Gabbai told him, don't worry, you're getting it. You're getting it. And the number started to go up, and he lost. And when he lost it. He lost his mind. He stood up and he started to scream, crazy, crazy. So the Gabbai approaches him and he says, I don't understand. You know, he's the guy who bought it. The guy who bought it, he told me, please, I know that it's the yahrzeit of so-and-so. I wanted to give it to this guy. Then I realized, instead of being attacked and thinking that somebody's taking it from me, somebody actually gave it to me. And this type of things happen all the time. There was a Yehudi in Eretz Israel that he bought, that he had the bar mitzvah of his son. I'm talking about maybe, 30 years ago. Less than 30 years ago. Was the bar mitzvah of his son. He arranged everything with the Gabbai. The Gabbai forgot about the bar mitzvah. And he gave, and somebody else called him for a different bar mitzvah also, the same week, the same parasha. And the Gabbai said to the second family, yes. Now, Rabbi, the Gabbai realized his mistake. Couple of days before Shabbat. Now, the other boy already prepared to hold the parasha. He calls up, he's shaking. He calls up the father of the first family, and he says, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know how this happened to me, but I got mixed up. And I gave the Shabbat to also second family. I don't know what to do. I'm calling you. I don't know. You want to help me out with ideas? The guy said, okay, let me call you back in a couple of minutes. He calls back in a couple of minutes and he says to the Gabbai, listen to me well. My son prepared to hold the parasha. He knows this parasha by heart. But my son told me, if this is going to cause machloket, I'm ready to give it over. I'll do everything to prepare the next week's parasha. In 1 week. Rabotai, this boy was mevater. Listen to the story till the end. Fast forward. The boy grows up. He's in yeshiva. One of the good yeshivot. And his mother is having a very strong, she's not feeling well. She's being rushed to the hospital. And she's in the hospital without knowing what's the problem. Without knowing what's causing the problem, the pain and this, they couldn't find the issue. One day, the boy, that is already 19 years old, he told his dad, stay at home with the kids. I'm going to be at the hospital with mom. He's at the hospital, and then in the floor on top, the next floor in the hospital, there was one of the great rabbis by name Rav Shalom Eliashiv. You probably heard about him. Rav Eliashiv. He was also in the hospital. And they wanted to organize a minyan in the room of the rabbi, because the rabbi was there for a while. They brought Sefer Torah, everything. They had a minyan, but they were looking for Baal Koreh. So they went around, and when the boy hears And they're looking for a Baal Koreh. You know that this is his parasha. But which parasha? You're going to hear in a minute. He says, I know the parasha. He goes up and he actually read, and he read so nicely that Rabbi Yashiv, at the end of the tefillah, he calls him up and he says, thank you very much. You did a lot of chesed to me. How do you know this parasha? It's your parashat bar mitzvah? And the boy says to him, no, it's actually not my parashat bar mitzvah. It's a long story, says the boy, but I needed to read a different parasha at the end, so that's why I know it. Rabbi Yashiv gets so impressed with this boy. He tells him, and why are you here? So the boy tells him his mother is, in the hospital. The doctors cannot find what's the problem. Says Rabbi Yashiv, you know what? There is a special doctor that came from the U.S. to take care of me. I'm going to ask him to go down to see your mother. That's how he ended up. Doctor went down. He saw the situation. He got the reason. He found the reason. And Baruch Hashem, the mother was able to recap. We see something unbelievable. When you think that the other one is taking it from you, you're going to be a person all the time sad, all the time complaining, all the time with problems. Whenever you understand that nobody is able to take from you absolutely nothing, and all what belongs to you, it will remain belonging to you. And if it's not by you, it's because you don't deserve it. It's not supposed to be by you. When a person understands that Borei Olam is mashgiach about every single step in your life, there's no reason why to be sad, no reason why to be mad. The opposite. At the end of the road, you will understand. One day you will understand that everything was actually for you good. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen ve'amen.